This is a promotional video by Aramco, a Saudi oil company, the main source of the kingdom's immense wealth, and of course the world's largest corporate emitter of greenhouse gases. The video claims that the company is set on urgent action on climate change, positioning itself as an environmental leader. Yet behind this splashy show lies a history of subversive activities to derail protective climate policies in the international arena.
الحادث اللي حدث مؤلم جدا لجميع السعوديين.
Here is former Saudi oil minister Ali Naimi speaking in 2006 of the kingdom's fears.
بالرغم من قلقنا من أن تؤدي بعض القرارات المتعلقة بالبيئة والتي تسعى بعض الدول إلى فرضها إلى تخفيض الاستهلاك العالمي للبترول، وهو الأمر الذي قد يؤثر سلباً على برامج تنميتنا الاقتصادية نتيجة لاعتمادنا الكبير على تصدير البترول الخام.
The fact is that the Saudis have been nagging since the world woke up to the planetary scale dangers of climate change. For example, in the Madrid climate change meeting in 1995, Mohammed al-Saban, then a Saudi petroleum official and later oil minister, threw into question the credibility of the science around climate change. In late September, the retired minister tweeted, "Trump will be in the office for another term to kill all of your nonsense climate lies." His anti-environmental discourse has been with Saudi delegates, as their underlying mission in climate talks has been to preserve the profits of Aramco, and hence the untold wealth of the Saudi royal family.
Somehow people with a lot of money, and that includes a lot people in the United States and in Saudi Arabia, feel that they are not personally at risk from climate change because their money and power will keep them safe. So they don't figure climate change into their calculations. They are primarily interested in maintaining and increasing, if possible, their wealth and their power.
Fact check 1. How much does Aramco earn profits every year? $111 billion a year. The Saudis fear their future revenues could drop sharply if major economies begin moving to renewable energy, although they try to keep up appearances.
Renewable does not have an impact on the oil sector. It will have more impact on nuclear, gas, coal. Of course, it will impact electric vehicles because electric vehicles, they will get their supply from the power generation. But in the oil, which is mainly in transportation, shipping, aviation, chemicals, it will not have an impact.
According to Joanna Deplich of the journal Climate Policy, the Saudis have been very good in making sure only weak measures have been adopted.
In Geneva, when we adopted the IPCC special report on land, I just don't understand why they have issues here. And what we are saying, the draft decision that you have now says that we're going to address those elements that are not addressed under agenda items. So I just don't understand where is the concern is coming from. And I'm telling you, we will not accept a decision that would make reference to ocean report, but not the land report. We really can't be any clearer than that, Madam President. Thank you very much.
Fact check 2. How much greenhouse gases did Saudi's Aramco release between 1992 and 2017? Over 40 billion metric tons, nearly 5% of the world's industrial carbon dioxide and methane. Saudi Arabia has used every trick in the book just to evade its responsibilities as a major polluter on the planet. For example, despite its enormous oil revenues, Riyadh has tried to position itself as a developing country, so demanding special concessions and lengthy delays in climate change talks. Fact check 3. How much was the Saudi GDP per capita in 2018? Over $20,775, equivalent to 165% of the world's average. The U.S. diplomatic cables released by American whistleblower Chelsea Manning bring to sharp relief Saudi's destructive role in climate negotiations. In an email dated February 11, 2010, James Smith, then the U.S. ambassador to Saudi Arabia, complains that Saudi officials are very concerned that a climate change treaty would significantly reduce their income just as they face significant costs to diversify their economy. Smith continues, "We want to get beyond the obstructionism that Saudi negotiators have often shown during the negotiations." Yet with the rise of Donald Trump to the presidency of the United States, Saudi Arabia has had Washington on its side in throwing a spanner in the works.
To my mind, part of the big problem addressing climate change is the many events that are created worldwide to distract us from the problem. The Earth will be here perhaps long after we are, and to keep people from addressing the urgency of climate change, there are a lot of countries that are doing their best to keep people in general distracted. Certainly the United States is one of those countries, and certainly Saudi Arabia is another.
The two countries were among the handful of countries to object the 2018 special report by the International Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, on the impacts of global warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Fact check 4. What could be the difference between 1.5 and 2 degrees of warming? Threats of sea level rise for an additional 10 million people. Extreme heat, water scarcity, and flooding for tens of millions of people. Extinction of plant and animal species at a double rate. Meanwhile, Riyadh has been funding U.S. climate denialism for years through its lobbying network, according to a report by The Intercept. Less said or known, Saudi Aramco owns a number of refineries and chemical plants through a company it controls called Motiva Enterprises. Brian Kaufman, the company's CEO, is among the board members of the American Fuel and Petrochemical Manufacturers, AFPM. In 2018, AFPM helped defeat Washington State Ballot Initiative 1631, designed to institute a carbon tax by giving $1.25 million to the opposition campaign to urge voters against the measure. The Saudi state-run company is also a major member of the American Petroleum Institute, an influential oil lobbying group with clout in Washington. A recent investigation by Politico found that both AFPM and API are deeply involved in obstructing electric vehicle investments.
You know, there is a limit to the number of dead and decayed dinosaurs down there that are producing oil, and rather than temper their actions by the reality of that fact and climate change, they're in it to get the most money they can while it's still there. And really, without regard for any long-term strategy, or the Earth as a whole, or the people on the Earth, or the environment, or the animals.
By a bitter irony, whereas Saudi Arabia is sabotaging initiatives to tackle climate change problems, the desert kingdom itself is already suffering from the terrible effects, including record-high temperatures and unprecedented flooding, making parts of the country uninhabitable.
والله أنهم يقاتلون وعنهم على جزيرة العرب